Leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see.
Are tracking Hurricane Beryl as it takes aim at Jamaica. It has already moved through some of the windward islands, causing damage from rain, flooding, high winds, and so much more. Forecasters are warning people that they need to be ready for just about anything.
That includes having an emergency kit, so having medical items and medical tools and medicine that you would need ahead of time, along with having non-perishables, having gas, having water, about a gallon per person and per day for about 7 days.
Safety experts say people in danger should have an escape plan ready to go just in case they are ordered to leave. And take a look at this. Flight crews from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are collecting data from the eye of the powerful hurricane as it crosses the Caribbean. You can see the swirling clouds and the wall from that storm. It's already that is being blamed for at least 6 deaths. So let's bring back in Mike Allen for a look at current conditions. Wow, Mike, that looks so frightening.
I have never flown into a hurricane like that with the P-3 Orion crew, which is what that aircraft is there. But it's just a remarkable kind of idiosyncrasy of nature.
Yeah.
That you have this enormous storm, and right in the middle of it, everything is calm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Everything is calm, and it's because of the intense motion in the atmosphere there that is preventing the clouds from forming right in the center of that hurricane. But that is just incredible.
Yeah, scary.
And of course, when these planes fly into that wall of the storm, that's when they get buffeted the most, and that's consequently where the worst of a hurricane is. All right, here's a look at Hurricane Beryl. 145-mile-an-hour winds. Yes, that is less than what they were yesterday when they peaked at 165. So we've gone from a Category 5 to a Category 4. We're splitting hairs in the type of damage that can be done in this situation. There are still wind gusts of 175 miles per hour. Here's a little geography. Hispaniola, this is the island on which the Dominican Republic is located and on which Haiti is located. Here is Jamaica, and that's the eastern tip of Cuba here. And over there you've got Grand Cayman Island. The storm right now is pummeling Jamaica. Even as the eye of the storm, let me show you what I'm talking about. The eye is kind of difficult to see right now. Let me run you through here a little satellite loop. Very difficult to see the eye. Remember a couple of days ago it was this perfect dark dot here. That's not the case now, but the storm is just offshore south of Kingston, Jamaica. The strongest part of hurricanes, other than the eye wall itself, is right of the center of movement. So some of the worst winds associated with this, some of the highest storm surge, that wall of water that comes in with a hurricane, is right on that southern coast of Jamaica, which is where Kingston is located. So on Jamaica right now, they're getting hit with hurricane force winds, probably 100 plus right along the coast, a huge storm surge, and of course torrential rainfall. There is also an awful lot of rain, wind, and wave action hitting Haiti and even into southern portions of Cuba. So the storm, even if it doesn't directly hit Kingston, and let me go ahead and put up the latest National Hurricane Center track. Category 4 storm. It is likely that the center of circulation is going to stay just south of Jamaica, but close enough that it makes very little difference in its overall impact to the island. From there, by the time we get to tomorrow morning, here's Grand Cayman Island. The storm, once again, probably not going to make a direct hit, but it is close enough that Grand Cayman is going to be hit with major hurricane force winds, damage the whole shebang.
Control, can you go ahead and 10-3 the channel? I'm getting ready to do a high-risk stop. It's not it. Show me your hand! Show me your hands. Driver, use your hand to open the door. Use your hand to open the door. Show me your hands. Step out of the car, face away from me. Walk back to the sound of my voice. Walk back to the sound of my voice. Walk backwards to the sound of my voice. All right, stop. Stop. Get on your knees. Stay there. Put your hands behind your back. Yeah, just a second, all right? Give me a second. All right. So we got a hint that your car is stolen. Okay. Yeah, my car was stolen. Yes. Y'all can't put my registration in and everything. Okay. All right. I'm only 18. Y'all just and then y'all put it out there. Board stolen. How my car is from? Let me call my mama. Let me call my mama. Did y'all even read the tags? No, y'all did not.
People that should have been her protectors treated her like less than a human.
First at 6, a recent North Myrtle Beach High School graduate claims she was wrongly pulled over by police and handcuffed at gunpoint. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Trish Williford.
And I'm Edward Moody. News 13's Gracie Fusco was at today's news conference. She tells us more about the claims and what the young woman and her family want to see happen.
18-year-old Lanisha Hemingway, who chose not to speak at the conference, and her family announced that they filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the North Myrtle Beach Police Department and the officers who drew their guns.
We're looking for justice for this, because this has actually destroyed my grandchild, traumatized, mentally, physically, emotionally.
Take a look at this video. It's the body camera footage of the incident that took place on May 3rd when Hemingway was driving to meet friends. 3 officers surrounded her and her car because they thought she was driving a stolen vehicle.
The city was using their license plate reader technology, and they picked up a tag for a stolen vehicle. Lanisha's driving to go hang out with some friends to celebrate senior week, and she's pulled over.
Now listen to this. You can hear the officer is aware they had stopped the wrong car, but still proceeds to draw their weapon.
It's not it. Show me your hands.
The officers then forced her to walk backwards at gunpoint and then handcuffed her. Hemingway asked if they ran her plate and looked at her vehicle registration.
Y'all can't put my registration in and everything. Okay. Let me call my mama. Did y'all even read the tags? No, y'all did not.
Shortly after placing her in handcuffs, they acknowledged they pulled the wrong vehicle over.
What Lanisha has experienced, which was may have been a little bit of a day on the job for the officers, is going to be a lifetime of something that Lanisha has to grapple with.
Hemingway's attorney, Tyler Bailey, said they filed the lawsuit on Monday. It states, quote, "The city of North Myrtle Beach publishes that one of their values is to treat all persons with dignity and respect. The department and its officers showed no care and disregarded the interest of Lanisha Hemingway." It further states that officers Kayla Wallace and Michael Pasillo, as well as Chief of Police Dana Crowell, are all being sued by Hemingway. When reached out for comment, a North Myrtle Beach police official told us the department does not comment on pending litigation.
You don't treat a young child this way. I mean, all you had to do was run the plate.
That's what we're here to get, is justice and accountability here. And we hope the city of North Myrtle Beach will do everything possible to try to make it right. So far, they have not done that at all.
Bailey says they want to see officers get more training and hope that change will be made within the department to make sure a situation like this doesn't happen again.
I don't know what that is.
I got my dog throwing his stick. We heard a bunch of coming across the street. I figured it was a bunch of locusts or bugs. I don't know, June bugs or something. They flew over our head probably 7, 8 feet. One of them hit the pole, and you could hear it on the ground. I thought it was one of those katydid things. But you tell me, why in the would this right here be flying around? Somebody please explain to me what that is. And I found out as I was picking it up, if you squeeze that on the end on each end, then it's going to do it one time. Then I guess it shuts. So somebody, for the love of God, please tell me what that is. Something.
So our little blob made it to Newsweek. Well, you won't believe what I'm showing you now. I thought I'd go back in time. This is February 14th at 2 a.m. And this is 5 a.m. These seem to be parallel lines of activity, spaced evenly. Here's where it gets freaky. Someone wrote to me suggesting I look at the time lapse of Bouvet Island on Google Earth. Watch what happens when our lovely little island gets to 2017. Fun. It's blued out. But here's the thing. It's blued out for 6 years. Why is our little island blued out for 6 years?
Oh my God, this is insane.
It doesn't even come up as dark as it is. Oh, there we go.
Urgent
That's scary. That's scary.
We could die.
Bro, it's getting dark. Bro, you can't see it on camera, but it's getting... Oh, it's coming right under us, bro. I mean, right over us. Holy!
Oh, man, y'all pray for me, okay? It's about to go.
Oh, yeah, we about to get wild.
Coming in quick.
Look him out there, look him out there.
Don't you find it passing strange that in World War I, Max Warburg, who was head of German intelligence and a big leading banker there in Germany, his brother, Paul Warburg, founded the Federal Reserve System in our country, and at that time was head of the financial end of World War I for the United States of America. And here's the house on Jekyll Island, where the plans were laid to instill upon us the Federal Reserve System, which is neither federal nor has any reserves. It's a system of 12 banks that are in turn owned by other private banks, and in fact, most of the studies that have been done show that the majority of ownership in the banks that control the Federal Reserve are held by people who are not even Americans. There's old Paul. He headed up the original Federal Reserve Board. And here we see Woodrow Wilson and Colonel House and his wife. And this is where it begins to tie into the older secret societies, because as I pointed out, Trilateral Commission connects to the CFR. The Intercorps leadership is Bilderberger. The CFR was created right after World War I by Colonel House, Bernard Baruch, and others to try to sell us on the idea of globalization. And these folks had been members of the old Cecil Rhodes secret society called the Round Table.
So check it out. ISS. Are they playing with layers? Like, where did this guy just faded in? He'll fade out in a second.
This is live, or was live, right?
Live. Well, this is what we're seeing. And then, wait. That just shows you right there. It's all, right? This guy, where'd he go?
And this is supposed to be live on TV. That's how we're seeing these, right? Like, at one point, they were live.
This is from their video. So this is showing you that they're using green screens and all sorts of stuff. And this one, what's going on there? Right? Well, so this is a close-up of the Mars rover, and we're zooming in on the picture, and as we zoom in, what do we see?
A fly.
A fly.
Space flight at first spot.
There's life on Mars. That proves that there's life on Mars.
Oh, this would be groundbreaking. Revolutionary. There must be water on Mars then, too.
Must be.
And more bugs for that thing to eat. Or maybe it eats space rocks. The first space-eating rocks fly.
There are currently 42 cloud seeding projects across the American West, like this one in Utah, where they take planes like this with flares attached. They fly right into the storm and send microscopic particles into the cloud. Particles that act like magnets for water droplets, bonding together until they are heavy enough to fall to the ground as rain or snow. At At the University of Colorado, researchers are working on artificial intelligence to deploy cloud seeding drones. And it's not just cloud seeding from the sky. There are hundreds of those things. That shack you see in the foreground is a ground-based cloud seeder. The little flame coming out is sending tiny silver iodide particles up into the sky. When a storm comes through, they go up to 2,000 feet above our head, into the storm, up those mountains, and make more snow than it naturally would. Well, cloud seeding has been helping get every last drop out of some of the driest years on record. This past winter, Mother Nature came through. The Southern Rockies, which feed the Colorado River, got more than 4 times their average snow. But experts say it's still not enough. As much as cloud seeding is a boost or a help, it's not a solution. The main solution is
conservation.
Cloud seeding is most successful in wet years, so this was a huge winter for them. They actually stopped early because Mother Nature was giving up so much. Now, studies have shown that the environmental impacts from the silver iodide, on the current scale, there are no impacts to snow or rain also downstream, so it doesn't impact, the other weather. They do anticipate at least 200 more ground cloud seeders in the future, and the federal government has committed $2.6 million to seeding.
The government has committed $2.6 million to seeding.
Continue tonight about autopsies, missing organs, and medical ethics surrounding the bodies of deceased inmates here in Alabama.
The I-Team's Cynthia Gould first broke these unsettling stories. Tonight, another Alabama family seeks answers after a funeral home director told them there are no organs in their son's body.
So many questions. Who's taking these organs and why? It's the third such case we've covered.
It was like a stone had it in my heart. And ain't nobody gave them no authorization.
Angolia Moore's youngest son is buried here in a South Alabama cemetery.
He was the apple of the eye, and he was the baby.
Moore said she had just talked to her son Kelvin 90 minutes before a call came from the prison saying he had overdosed.
He said, "Do you have a son in Limestone?" "No, you have somebody in Limestone." I said, "Yes, I have a son." "Well, he's dead."
Shock turned to horror when the family heard from the funeral director.
He said, "There's no organs in his body," and we just hit the ceiling.
It's deep. It's like a wound that'll never get healed.
The family determined to retrieve the organs for burial from UAB Hospital's pathology department, where the autopsy was performed. Their brother Simone was given a plastic biohazard bag with the organs inside. It was a 4-hour drive home to Mobile.
For about 2 hours, it was nothing. I had no words. I had plenty of tears until I was all cried out. And what makes it even worse is not knowing. And so what if they're not his organs? Where are his organs?
The body may have to be exhumed to answer that question. The Alabama Department of Corrections contracts with UAB to perform some autopsies. Experts say only in rare cases would organs be kept. Tissue samples are used for any follow-up. Dominic Sisti is an associate professor of medical ethics at the University of Pennsylvania.
It is, I think, an ethical duty of the prison system and of the correctional system to be in constant communication with family members on this point. This is an important matter of trust. It's an important thing for families to be able to begin the process of healing.
Federal court documents reveal a group of UAB medical students raised ethics concerns, asking was there informed consent to use organs, tissues for research or teaching.
They should not be using organs to teach with without consent of the patient or the family. That's just a no-brainer from an ethics perspective.
Another court document reads the prison warden provides consent and always signs for no restrictions on what specimens can be used for. UAB has declined to be interviewed but provided a statement which reads in part, autopsy consent includes consent for final disposition of the organs and tissues unless specifically requested. Organs are not returned to the body.
So if you feel like in your heart that what you're doing to people's loved ones is right, then shame on you.
The Moores tell us they plan to file a federal lawsuit. They hope this never happens to anyone else. Cynthia Gould, ABC 3340 News.
It is possible many families of inmates would consent to have their loved ones' organs used for research. However, in the case of the Moore family, it is not acceptable because of their religious beliefs.
It was a funeral home that first alerted Sarah Kennedy something was wrong with the body of her brother-in-law, who died while imprisoned.
They said, "Did y'all realize he came back without his organs?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Came back without his organs?"
The funeral director told Sarah everything was missing inside Jim Kennedy Jr.'s body. Everything but his eyes.
Liver, heart, all of your major organs, they were gone.
She says those organs were taken without the knowledge or permission of Marvin Kennedy, Kennedy Jr.'s brother and legal representative.
But yet they made the decisions for you. I represented you without your permission.
Sarah repeatedly tried to contact the prison and the University of Alabama at Birmingham, which is among the providers that conducts autopsies for the prison system.
I had a lot of questions. But no answers.
Eventually, she says she spoke over the phone with someone who identified himself as an autopsy department supervisor for the university, and she secretly recorded that conversation.
We've never had this request done before.
To have the organs back?
Yeah,
Well, who buried somebody without their organs?
Well, we do it all the time because
We don't want to do it for our religious purpose. We don't want to do that.
Now, we'll tell you this, is that UAB is a teaching institution, and any teaching institution that does autopsies keeps their organs.
Well, we did not, and Junior did not want that. We have not agreed with the prison for his body to be turned over for no study. And we want those organs back.
5 months after Kennedy Jr.'s death, Billy Stapler made his own alarming discovery.
It's just insane. It's like a horror movie that I can't wake up from.
The private pathologist he hired to perform an autopsy on his father, Arthur Stapler, was unable to perform it.
She said he had an empty cavity. There was nothing there.
Stapler says he held the power of attorney for his father, never authorized the removal or retention of the organs.
I just want him to be whole again.
Stapler says he spoke with the same UAB supervisor. Eventually, his private pathologist received what was said to be his father's brain and heart back. But some organs, like his lungs, came back in pieces. The rest were gone.
And I'm asking where's the rest of his organs? And he tells me that they possibly got thrown away. And I'm like, how do you throw away organs? Why did you even take them out of him?
Funeral experts tell CNN after an autopsy, organs are normally put in a bag and placed back inside the body. But that's not what happened in the case of these 7 inmates. The families of 5 of them, now suing the Alabama Department of Corrections and UAB. The university conducted the autopsies for all the inmates, but one, says attorney to the families, Lauren Farino. She tells CNN the families insist none of them were organ donors. So how in the world did this all happen without family consent? The Alabama Department of Corrections tells CNN it does not comment on pending litigation, nor does it authorize or perform autopsies. But UAB tells CNN ADOC does approve them and says it's ADOC's responsibility to get family approval.
What do you think is your most damning piece of evidence?
The contract between the Department of Corrections and UAB is just about all the evidence we need to show that illegal activity is happening. That contract shows these parties empowering a warden to make a decision about taking out organs and keeping them from loved ones. The law directly contradicts that position. The law says very clearly a warden does not have that right.
CNN reached out to the Alabama legislature for clarity. A legislative attorney saying in a memo, a warden has no legal authority to approve an autopsy, and their agreement may be illegal. And just what happened to those organs? UAB told CNN in a statement, in some cases, their pathologists keep organs for further testing to come to an accurate cause of death. Farino claims the organs serve another purpose at the school.
Right now, we have concrete evidence that the students are using some of these organs for training in medical school.
A group of 13 UAB medical students questioned the ethics of the school's retention of some inmate organs without consent as far back as 2018. They wrote this letter to school administrators, saying in part, "Our concern is not with the practice of autopsy, but with the process of consent for the retention and use of tissue samples. Two of those former medical students tell CNN their instructors acknowledged that many of their teaching samples came from inmates because inmates tend to have more developed disease, easier to see and learn from. The students agreed to speak on the condition of anonymity, fearing career repercussions, one saying, "It's plainly and obviously wrong. There is no understanding of medical ethics in which this is permissible." UAB accused the student whistleblowers of inaccuracies in a statement to CNN, something the students deny. Despite the accounts from former students, the university tells CNN it does not use inmate organs to teach medical students. So we went back to them and asked, "Have you ever?" showing them their own report from 2018 that states they do. But UAB refused to answer. For the families, left frustrated and without answers, nothing short of accountability and policy changes can make them whole.
What made it right for them to just go ahead and just give away a person to somebody else and say, here, you can play with this person's body like that?
Well, we are following the situation on Israel's northern border with Lebanon. Reuters reports Israeli strikes have killed a senior Hezbollah field commander. Following the latest for us from Jerusalem is BBC News Middle East analyst Sebastian Usher. Sebastian, what's the level of concern of a wider conflict breaking out between Israel and Hezbollah? Any action being taken to de-escalate?
There was a lot of concern a few weeks ago when there was an escalation, and that followed the killing by Israel of another senior commander of Hezbollah. And that led to Hezbollah firing its largest barrage of drones and rockets into northern Israel. Since these hostilities, these near-daily skirmishes between Israel and Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed armed movement in Lebanon, really started pretty much after the war erupted between Israel and Hamas. Hezbollah said that it was going to hit Israel in order to show its support for Hamas, and that's essentially what's happened since. Now, there have been concerns that were raised at that moment, and it's slightly de-escalated since then, but there's a lot of diplomatic activity going on. Amos Hochstein, the US envoy, has been in Lebanon and other places trying to create a deal where Hezbollah can step back from the border, Israel can be persuaded not to go into Lebanon, not to turn this into an all-out war. An incident like this, which Hezbollah incidentally has confirmed now, named the commander as Mohammed Nasser, hasn't said that Israel carried it out. Israel hasn't either confirmed that it did so, but it seems almost certain that it did. Now the concern is that there will be another escalation within this confrontation, this kind of cat and mouse, which Hezbollah incidentally has confirmed now, named the commander as Mohammed Nasser, hasn't said that Israel carried it out. Israel hasn't either confirmed that it did so, but it seems almost certain that it did. Now the concern is that there will be another escalation within this confrontation.
Majesty, King Charles just unveiled the latest portrait since his coronation. But people are pointing out some strange things about it. The first thing is that it kind of looks demonic and evil. The next thing is there is a monarch butterfly, which we know are sadly endangered, which we should do something about. But monarchs is usually referencing Project Monarch, which I'll let you research because it is quite shocking and I probably can't talk about it on here. But the really strange thing is what happens when you flip the portrait upside down and mirror the image. Look at this. Now, this is no editing. It's just mirroring the image and merging them together and putting them upside down. Do you see the goat mouth, the two eyeballs, and the horns? That is Baphomet. If you didn't know, Baphomet is a very weird demonic thing, and they apparently quite have a fond feeling about this ancient deity. Also, the dimensions of this portrait is 8 foot 6 inches by 6 foot 6 inches. So you got a nice 666 in there as well. What else would you expect?
There'll be a certain set of jobs where you're just moving documents around and looking at documents, say, accounting or medical claims, where the depth of understanding in those jobs is pretty straightforward. And some of those jobs will just be purely automated. Then there'll be a ton of jobs where they're still being done by humans, like making greeting cards. And I went back and watched the movie Her because it raises in a pretty...
I thought greeting cards were definitely going to be automated because now you can have mass customization of greeting cards.
Well, anyway. Yeah, you probably can do it by yourself. Take Dolly 10 and say, hey, here's how I want to make fun of my sister, remind her about this thing from the past, and here's some photos to stick in that. So yeah, you might eliminate the professional there because it's very you and the AI can do it in a very bespoke way. But there'll be a lot of jobs left that are just more productive, and that where you have this kind of co-pilot that's taking the convert the PowerPoint to a Word document, and boom, that draft is available for you to have as the starting point. And so that extra productivity will create new opportunity to take things like medical care and make it better, education and make it better, care of the elderly and make it better. Productivity is a good thing, and people have been bemoaning, and there's many books about, we have electricity, and then since then everything hasn't been quite, at least the way it reflects into economic figures, as dramatic as what happened there.
It's not about controlling you, they say. It's about convenience. The mark of the beast isn't coming soon, they say. There will never be a mark that will keep you from buying and selling if you don't do exactly what they want. As companies like JP Morgan and MasterCard are on board with a biometric breakthrough this year, you may soon have to start paying with your face. And no, I don't mean pulling out your phone and scanning your phone as a security system to use your card. I mean scanning your face on the way in the building to pay or to eat or to get your loyalty reward. Like good little cattle, we'll all line up at the door. Let them scan our faces. Most quick service restaurants require consumers to provide their loyalty rewards information to earn rewards, which means pulling out a phone or opening an app, finding the link to the loyalty QR code, and then presenting the QR code to the cashier or reader for payment. Consumers are typically choosing between pulling out their wallet, selecting a credit card, and then dipping or tapping the card with their phone, opening with Face ID, and then presenting it to the reader. Miller says pop-up ID simplifies this process by requiring just tapping an on-screen button and then looking briefly at a camera for both loyalty check-in and payment. Yeah, I'd say we're getting pretty close, boys and girls.
What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
He sees this, right? You're telling me that HAARP has been doing a research campaign from May 8th to May 10th, specifically a high-frequency active auroral research program. Is this not sketchy to anybody else? And did you know that this is not actually the first time that they did this research? No, November of 2023, HAARP, artificial air glow to light up the skies in Alaska. As you can see, anyone in Alaska was able to see the artificial air glow created by HAARP. That time being a 4-day campaign. And supposedly on that day, HAARP created an air glow at a specific point in the sky. They gave you a whole bunch of information as to how they've been planning this research for quite some time. As you can see, the National Science Foundation in 2021 awarded the UAF Geophysical Institute a 5-year, $9.3 million grant to establish the Sub-Auroral Geophysical Observatory at HAARP. The observatory explores Earth's upper atmosphere and geospace environment, with scientists investigating ionosphere mechanisms that cause optical emissions, saying that they'll also try to understand whether certain plasma waves amplify other low-frequency waves, and they'll investigate how satellites can use plasma waves in the ionosphere for collision detection and avoidance. Each day of this experiment that happened in November, the air glow could be visible up to 300 miles from the HAARP facility. Is that not sketchy to anybody? As you can see here, this was their most recent experiment. I'm sure it's no coincidence that the Aurora Borealis itself has been the farthest south as of recently than it's ever been in history. Quite literally visible in Alabama, even Florida. I mean, is anything even natural anymore? People really need to get in touch with the reality around them, and then people need to actually discover what frequencies are capable of doing. Because this just feels like playing God.
Caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Oh, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's just...
Breaking news, President Joe Biden has told a key ally that he's weighing whether to continue in the race, the New York Times has reported. According to the Times, Biden knows that salvaging his candidacy, that's the quote, may be impossible after his disastrous debate performance last week. Now, a White House spokesperson did deny that report, saying it's absolutely false. In any case, White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients is holding an all-staff call this afternoon as business leaders, pundits, and even now some Democratic officials are calling on Biden to step aside. Meanwhile, Team Biden has offered up this excuse for his weak debate performance: jet lag. At a donor event in McLean, Virginia on Tuesday evening, he said, quote, "I decided to travel around the world a couple of times. I don't know how many time zones. Shortly before the debate, I almost fell asleep on stage. By debate night, Biden had been back just shy of 2 weeks from his travels." Now, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre blamed his health when grilled by the press. Let's watch.
What I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. I would not see this as an episode. I would see this as what it was and what we believe it to be, which is it was a bad night.
Biden's dismal debate night is now showing up in the polls. One poll by Our Revolution showed 67% of progressive voters want Biden to bow out. Of the 17,000 progressive voters surveyed, 15% of progressives say that they are unlikely or very unlikely to vote for Biden if he remains the nominee.
Video monitors bringing us news right now out of California and a monster wildfire. You were looking at the video of this fire than our Sacramento CBS partners at KOVR, reporter Rachel Wolf. This is such a sad picture you're about to show us. We are aware that more than 1,000 people were on the run, and now you're going to show us a house that's destroyed in a neighborhood.
That's right. In fact, we were just updated this morning that 28,000 people are under a mandatory evacuation order. Wow. And the reason is this fire has hit 3,000 acres, and we have 4 homes here on Bessie Court that were leveled by the flames. In fact, we still have some flames right here, and crews are right in the middle of a switch from the morning crews to the day crews, and they're coming in, putting out hot spots just like this. So this is a garage, right? A car that's completely burned out. And then if you look over here, this is the iconic image that is reminiscent of the campfire in Paradise that I covered probably about, 5-6 years ago, where an entire town was leveled. This is nothing like that, but just to show you how random this whole thing is, look at, there's 3 homes here altogether that went up in flames, yet the garage didn't. And then if you go across the street, these homes are fine. And this was kind of a fire line. You can see the fire that just ripped down this hillside and stopped right here. And when we arrived at 5 o'clock this morning, right where our white SUV is, there were a line of CAL FIRE trucks and other fire personnel. We talk about the hundreds of people that have come to help put out this fire from all over the state of California. It was all hands on deck. And you know why? We had record high heat. We had high winds, blustery winds. And then we had, just all of the combination of that coming together in an area that has a lot of vegetation. We've had 2 years of near record rainfall in the state of California, and that means there are a lot of fuels. So what these guys were able to do is, in essence, save the neighborhood. Firefighting is no joke. It is really tough, not only because of all of the gear and the heat, but also managing something that is often unmanageable when you have wind gusts, sometimes of 30, 40 miles an hour. Right now, the wind has died down. The flames seem to be at bay, at least in this area. They've moved to other areas to protect and stop the fire from spreading. But at 3,000 acres and 0% containment, you wonder, where is it going to go? And so at this point in time, today is critical with firefighting efforts. Thankfully, they have Lake Oroville here. They have an abundance of water. And this neighborhood had fire hydrants. And that's one of the things in some of these rural areas on the hillside, in the foothills, is that you might get into some of these areas that might not have access to water, or there's one way in or one way out. You've covered lots of wildfires.
Right.
That makes it a challenge. But now the wind's kind of picking up a little bit. All it takes is one of these embers from this house swirling, dropping down into a field. You've got another fire.
You got another fire. Rachel, we appreciate your live report. Our thoughts with the family who lost their home in that neighborhood. Let's talk about the wind and the conditions with meteorologist Jessica Birch. Jess, it is a perfect storm for a very imperfect situation.
Absolutely. Those red flag warnings are no jokes, especially in areas like California where it's a tinderbox already. We're not only talking about California, but throughout the South too when it comes to some extreme heat that we're experiencing heading into this 4th of July week. Let's actually start over in California with red flag warnings still in effect in areas throughout the Bay. That's going to last throughout the afternoon hours today with low relative humidity and conditions definitely not favorable when it comes to fire weather conditions in areas like Napa and Sonoma. Now we make our way all the way over into the south. Dallas this afternoon still well above average for this time of year, sitting at 100 degrees for our daytime high there. We're holding on tight to upper 90s near Memphis. Right behind me, we're keeping a close eye on our heat risk advisories all throughout the states as we head into the coming days. We'll have more on this in a bit.
Heartbreak for a Metro Atlanta community mourning the loss of a family just killed in a plane crash in New York.
These are photos just shared with us tonight by members of the Van Epps family. Authorities say Ryan and Laura Van Epps died in the crash, along with their 2 sons, 12-year-old James Ryan and 8-year-old Harrison. That's along with Laura's father, 76-year-old Roger Beggs.
Let's get straight out to 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido. She's live right now in Cobb County with the very latest. Angelina?
Well, we've learned that this couple, their 2 sons and Laura's father, all left this airport in New York with the intention of making it right back here to this runway at the Cobb County International Airport, not knowing that their trip would be cut short. Now, I did speak with the Van Epps family off camera earlier today. They are just devastated, too emotional to go on camera, and heartbroken. There really are just no words to describe this tragedy.
Hard to accept it.
One by one,
they were killed in a plane crash.
Friends and family leave flowers and their prayers for the Van Epps and Beggs families at their home.
They can use the balloon for their journey where they're going.
Mike Monasterio, a close friend of the family who had just spoken to them days ago.
I said, brother, I will see you on the port. I'll go take you and your family to the airport.
The news of their sudden death too difficult to understand.
We don't want to bury our kids. We want our kids to bury us first. You lose half of your heart and your body.
Ryan and Laura Van Epps, their 2 sons, and Laura's father all had left a baseball tournament their oldest had just played in Cooperstown, New York. This is a single-engine Piper Malibu the family would take on their journey back, the photo taken hours before takeoff. The couple on board with their 2 sons, 12 and 10-year-olds James Ryan and Harrison. Laura's father, Roger Beggs, was their pilot. FlightAware shows the path the plane took Sunday afternoon. It took off just after 1:44 and crashed a few minutes later.
So scary.
Wynn Dyer, James Ryan's former teammate.
He was happy. He was a tough kid. He was a big kid. He loved his brother. Him and his brother were best friends.
As this community comes together in the face of tragedy, these families won't be forgotten.
Their mind and their face still in my heart.
Fly high, JR. Fly high, the Van Epps.
Now, a lot of love being sent to both of these families. Governor Kemp also tweeted out sending his condolences to everyone who knew and loved them.
a horrible, horrible situation this family community still has to go through. So, Angelina, do we know how this may have happened?
Well, there is an investigation that is ongoing right now. The NTSB taking a look at what happened before this family got into the plane and what led up to the crash as well.